Good evening. This is Saturday the 22nd, BBD, and a Saturday twist on a little bit of news and items that is going about. The first one was something that I find kind of banal that comes out of Times of India sometime, and the Sachin Prasha, I'm not sure where he goes to get his news. He says, useful LAC talks raise pullback hopes. Folks, don't rely on this shit. There is nothing. This couldn't be further from the truth. Because as you go into what, like I said, HT generally gives you the real picture. Goes on to say, China steps up military activity. The satellite imagery shared on Twitter shows what appears to be two sites at which the PLA is creating new infra and accommodation. And this, folks, is in the Lipule region. And remember, Lipule region is the same place that Nepal is claiming. So, you know, the stuff that Sachin Prasha writes, sometimes I wonder where he gets his news from. And if you knew what China was up to, all you needed to do was to see this joint statement that came out of China, where Qureshi was the foreign minister of what do you call that, our neighboring state Pakistan, was visiting, and you know, the kind of hostile statement they use sometimes really amazes me that we don't respond at all to it. He said, China, Pak say oppose JK unilateral action. China has told Pakistan it opposes any unilateral action that complicates the situation in Kashmir after Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi briefed his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi of his country's concerns regarding the situation in the Indian state. Now here, folks, this is like meddling with India's internal affairs, and we are saying nothing. We've not even, there's been no response, as I said, there was no immediate response to the joint statement from Indian officials. India has bristled at when China has, stepped in Kashmir. But let's just face this. China is firing this gun off Pakistan's shoulder. Its entire game plan is to get Ladakh and Leh. J&K is just collateral damage for them. Okay, so let's just focus on that. Let's get out, do a reality check. Stop getting into these conversations after conversations after conversations. It's getting us nowhere. Okay, so because as you can see from here, the Chinese side reiterated that Kashmir issue is a dispute left over from history between India and Pakistan, which is an objective fact, and that the dispute should be resolved peacefully and properly through the UN Charter relevant security resolutions. Well, they are definitely continue to finger us, taken our territory. We've done nothing of worth anyway at this point in time. Beijing told Islamabad that China firmly supports Pakistan. So if we were delusional about their pullback, it's absolutely not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. But we lost a big one. We lost the opportunity as this opportunity to stand on and name and shame China. And this is what I said the last time. We're just not getting up to do that. So he says Vietnam briefs India on China action in HCS. China deploys fighter jets in South China Sea. Vietnam briefs India. And it says, what does it go on to say? With Harsh Shringla on the latest flare up in the region, and also expressed his country's determination to advance a strong, comprehensive strategic partnership with India. So what could have India done? India could have come out strongly, just like China did come out strongly, named China and said that it stands for freedom of movement in the South China Sea. And it didn't. It just did. It just listened to this gentleman, the ambassador of Vietnam, gave it a pass, and that's about it. That really is cowardly behavior as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure where our Ministry of External Affairs is headed. I just don't know, guys. If anything was to be, there's a really nice article by Nayan Chanda who says hiding in plain sight. With heightened scrutiny, China's massive technology theft program is slowly being uncovered. Okay, and this is the reality. And as he says, in the months since COVID-19 was unleashed upon the world, taking nearly 800,000 lives, China's aggressive efforts to dominate have come under heightened scrutiny. Dozens of cases of technology theft in the West have been identified, with agents of economic espionage caught and expelled. Then he further says, although conducted openly, the scale and purpose of China's aggressive technology acquisition programs wasn't understood for what it was: a vast effort to secure tech secrets via coordinated party, government and private action. We all have to be aware about that. And this has had to stop, and I'm glad it's done. But while we're at it, the small pieces of news should also start ringing alarm bells. We are not doing enough in Nagaland. The talks have come to a standstill, and then you hear this story: Chinese female Jesus worries Naga church. China itself doesn't allow the church into China. But imagine this: they're not averse to doing what they're doing here, to create a rupture in Nagaland. So we better also look at that linkage. Why now? Why now? While we're at this, we have to keep our attention to what's happening in North Korea. It says North Korea leader delegates power to his younger sister. Country's leader has delegated some of his powers to his sister, including responsibility for relations with the US. There may be some changes happening here. What is important to note is the first time that the North Korean Kim has come out and told the country that the economic situation is in shambles. Interesting change of events. There must be something underfoot here. We need to keep a watch on it, because there's a huge illegal trade of missiles and nuclear weapons between Pakistan, China and North Korea. That's why it really has to make us sit up and watch. For all those who thought the presidential system was going to go somewhere, that's what this country is headed for. Want a presidential center, strong center. Look at this: one nation, many barriers. Reserving jobs for locals is incompatible with Make in India for the world. It's just incompatible. You know, what's being done now in Haryana, or reserving spots for employment for local Haryanavis. Same thing being done in Karnataka. Same thing being done with Madhya Pradesh. And a lot of these governments are BJP. It's not to say the Congress, but if the centrist national parties have this agenda, how can this country ever become one? It can't become one on the basis of Hindi or Hinduism or something like that. I mean, this is critical stuff. I'm surprised that we are not, that our Prime Minister is not being able to control his party when they are going ahead and doing this. But it's not something that is good for India. Here on one side we expect free movement of employees and people to the United States and the rest of the world, and we have this kind of restrictions within our own country. That's kind of shameful, isn't it, in this century now? Okay, but it's going to hurt us big time. Then you got to see this march on to Islamism in Turkey. As it says, Erdogan turns Chora church into a mosque. Turkey is headed down a slippery slope, folks. I just hope we don't either. We don't follow that route. It's just a hope, right? And then, I mean, a lot of people don't like Barkhadat, but what she says is right. Don't fear democratic and lawful politics in Jammu and Kashmir. The BJP has successfully buried the 370 debate. Why then marginalize pro-India Democrat? And that's a point, folks. He says the BJP promised that the end of Article 370 was going to be the close of business as usual in Kashmir. But if anything defines business as usual, it has been New Delhi's attempt at political engineering in the valley. If J&K is truly integrated, why are we so fearful of democratic, lawful politics? We need to change the narrative sooner than later in Kashmir, folks. Otherwise, this is going with China and Pakistan constantly fingering us. This is going to be trouble for us going into the future. So we really need to resolve this at the earliest. Then we have this thing that says SCO face-to-face meet agenda. Sino-India ties Afghan future. Well, I guess Doval and the foreign minister are headed for this meeting. They may run into the Chinese foreign minister, but I think he should be given a cold shoulder. But I guess it's important to go because we need to keep our relationship in Central Asia going and be enhanced further, because it's now going to be critical for us to control China in the long run or in the medium term. But I think the lesser said about a direct meeting and made much out of in this case between the Chinese foreign minister and the Indian foreign minister, the better it is, because that's really going to serve no purpose at all. Not unless we get to status quo ante. Then you have this report which says Muslim staffer at FB call for transparency in enforcing policies. In response to letter on hate speech, company says it it is against anti-Muslim hate and bigotry. No, I think at the end of the day, I think, all social media is extremely, extremely dangerous. And I think that there has to be some methodology to control it. How we do it, how they do it is going to be important for the future of democracy, the way I see it. Or the way we all want it anyway, right? And like I said, here we go. Must reach logical conclusion of talk soon. Naga team to PM. This is important. We need to solve the Naga issue, and we've just stretched it too far ever since this accord was trumpeted as the next best thing for the Northeast, and it's just not happened. I mean, I'm not sure where and why we are getting stuck. There have to be some red lines from our side. There have to be some red lines from their side. We really need accord faster, sooner than later, because otherwise this is another place where China can play a spoil sport, as it's done in the past, and we all know that. The other lovely business model I like is Adani buying up all these airports, or getting them in a bid from the airport authority at a cheap, and then giving them on contract to a German company may get to operate 3 Adani airports. The funny thing is, as a business model, is brilliant, but it smacks currently of crony capitalism. That's the only problem I have with it. Otherwise, I guess, hey, in any other country, if somebody was doing this, is a smart business. But here's a company that is neck deep in debt, or in fact, the debt is over the head right now, and it's still being able to get its hands on these airports in these bids. It's getting support from local banks, and those same banks are the ones that money is owed to by Adani. It's just a cycle that's dangerous for India, dangerous for this economy. And that needs to stop. Otherwise, as a business model, I really laud his guts and glory here for doing what he's doing. Especially in an economic situation that we are facing. But where we missed the trick, as I said, I want to come back on that. You have China and Pakistan standing there and rip-roaring and ripping into our internal affairs as far as Kashmir is concerned. We should have at least gotten up at today, and especially with the ambassador of Vietnam visiting our foreign secretary, and must have clearly said and pointing out that the area of the sea that actually belongs to Vietnam is being invaded by China. We should have stood solidly and named China and asked them that they should stay out of the internal affairs of Vietnam. Similarly, apparently what's happened in the Philippines, China has gone and destroyed some of their fishing assets. So that's another asset in development. Let's get up, ladies and gentlemen. Aggressive diplomacy, but nothing is going to work better than a bloody nose in the Galwan Valley to pay them back. Jai Hind.